Okay, action.
When I do pre-production for Fast and Furious, it's always fun.
Yes!
Because you're doing stunts in cars that everybody would love to do.
There it is.
You know, it's been a few years since I made Fast 1. I gotta say, it's a lot like riding a bicycle.
You wanna do another one?
Sure.
All right.
Doing 180s, doing 360s, you're racing cars.
With Ben, we had him doing the sliding 90, or we call it the skid turn, the drift turn. Here we go! All right, yeah!
When you go into that turn, you're naturally counter steering. It feels so good to get behind the wheel and just let it rip.
Having a good feel for the car. That's something you're sort of born with that. That driver.
They got to do some pretty cool moves like Scandinavian swing, which is where you set the car on a drift one side to set up the next turn. Felt pretty good.
The characteristics that make a good driver, they've got to have instincts, they've got to have reaction time, they have to have a thought process where they're concentrating on what they're doing. They feel the car, you can feel the chassis working, you can feel between the tires and the pavement. It's an adrenaline rush.
Paul and Vin have very good hand-eye coordination, so the driving skill sets are roughly the same.
There's something to be said about just hitting the apex right and entering a turn right, breaking traction every once in a while, and then hooking up, draw a tighter, cleaner line.
The audience is paying their money to see the actors perform most of or all of their stunts. So Paul and Vin just kind of get in there and it pays off. You know it's them, and that's great.
I like the fact that they want to go and do it.
I'm honored to be associated with American Muscle. It's in my blood. It's no accident that the name is Diesel.
Today we're going to talk about the movie Fast and Furious 11. We'll start with a quick intro, then dive into all the cool details like interesting facts, OTT and satellite info, budget, and worldwide lifetime box office numbers. I'll cover pre-production, filming, post-production, and give you a deep story analysis. Plus, there'll be a technical review for 2025, info on the cast and crew, release date updates, delays, expected budget, and of course, box office collections. Let's get into it. New update behind the scenes, ratings, reactions, and shootings. We also cover the previous parts first, Fast X, and the very first movie of the franchise from 2011, all in detail to give you the full picture. Let's start by talking about the first movie, Introduction, and Fast and Furious 11. Now Fast X Part 2 is the upcoming 11th installment in the iconic Fast and Furious franchise, serving as a grand finale to the main saga that began it all. This action-packed film promises to deliver high-octane street thrills, racing with family drama, revenge plots, and bigger-than-life stunts, bragging rights, a huge fan-favorite character, tying up loose ends from previous films. Directed by Louis Leterrier, it picks up right where the last one left off, focusing on Dominic Toretto and his crew as they face their biggest threats yet. The upcoming movie is set to release in the late 2020s and aims to celebrate the French roots of Los Angeles street racing culture, delivering an explosive global adventure with a star-studded cast. Vin Diesel. This film is expected to be a blockbuster and could mark the end of an era for one of Hollywood's most successful action series. Let's talk about the main points in detail. The first Fast and Furious 11 is packed with highlights that show its evolution and production. One key fact is that this movie is meant to be the concluding chapter of the main Fast and Furious timeline, making it the 12th overall entry when you include spin-offs like Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs teased a return to the franchise's roots with street racing in Los Angeles, contrasting with the globe-trotting spy thriller vibe of the recent film. Another cool detail is the plane reunion of Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor, the character originally played by the late Paul Walker, likely achieved through visual effects and including footage of the Walker brothers. Hobbs also appears in Fast and Furious 7. The movie set up future surprises with rumors about King Rez and Keanu Reeves possibly joining, though nothing's confirmed yet. Throw in some discomfort, interestingly. The French Start has a messy street racing story inspired by a 1978 Vibe magazine article about underground racing. Now, fast forward to 2025. It's turned into a multi-billion-dollar empire. The production's been hit with multiple delays because of strikes in script rewrites, constantly shifting. Justin Lin and Dan Mazeus, along with Christina Hodson and Oren Uziel, are working on it. Fan trailers have gone viral, featuring star like Cristiano Ronaldo, but the real movie focuses on core themes like family, royalty, and speed. The Titleist Acts Part 2 was officially revealed by Vin Diesel at Fuel Fest in 2025, confirming it's a direct sequel. Now let's talk about the second point, OTT and satellite details. The Fast and Furious 11 is an upcoming theatrical release, and the official OTT and satellite details aren't finalized yet. However, based on patterns from previous Fast and Furious films, it's expected to stream on platforms like Peacock and Universal streaming services in the U.S. After the movie runs in theaters, it usually takes about 55 to 60 days, similar to the first X. Then it lands on Peacock and other international theaters. After that, it shows up on Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and Disney Plus Hotstar, depending on the region. Satellite rights will likely be sold to major networks like HBO and Starz in the U.S., and in India, channels like Star Movies and Sony Max might get the TV broadcast rights. No specific deals have been announced yet, but this is expected around early 2026. After that, premium video on demand options should be available for rental on iTunes and Google. Let's talk about point number 3. Point number 3 is the budget and worldwide box office collection. Let's discuss this topic. The budget for Fast and Furious 11 hasn't been officially announced yet, but estimates put it around $300 to $400 million, aligning with the rising costs seen in recent entries like Fast X. The budget is about $378.8 million due to high production costs, global filming, and extensive CGI work. The film is upcoming and is scheduled for release in January 2026 worldwide. Off-box office collection is 0 with no earnings to report. Projections suggest it could cross $1 billion globally. Building on the franchise history, the first X earned $74.4 million worldwide, despite mixed reviews. Factors like the final hype, returning star, and marketing push might help it potentially surpass past Furious movies by $1.5 million at peak. If you like the video, then like it, share it with your friends, and also subscribe to the channel. So let me move on and tell you about this movie. Let me talk about the 4 main points. 4 main points: pre-production, production, post-production. Let's talk about this description. Pre-production for offs and futures. 11 began shortly after the 2023 release, with scripting by Christina Hudson and Oren, usual partners, Vin Diesel and Universal. Universal aimed for a back-to-basics approach, focusing on LA roots. There was a delay due to the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike, which affected the writing and pushed back the timeline. Full pre-production ramped up in late 2024, including storyboarding, street racing scenes, and character development. Post-production is silent for now. To start, after filming wraps up on the 26th, there will be heavy VFX work by studios like Industrial Light and Magic for the car chases and explosions. The editing will handle the burnout corner scenes carefully, focusing on sound design around the engine, road, and score by Brian Tyler. The whole process is expected to take about 6 to 2 months, leading to a polished finish. Now, let's talk about the 6th point. The 6th point is filming details. Let's also cover the 5th point. Filming for Fast and Furious 11 is scheduled to begin in early 2025. The premiere will be in Los Angeles to honor the original French version, with additional locations possibly including Brazil and Europe for international scenes. The practical setup will feature real cars like modified muscle vehicles with enhanced safety protocols, especially after past accidents. Director Louis Leterrier plans to blend practical effects with CGI for authenticity. Shooting is expected to take about 5 to 7 months, involving night shoots for racing scenes and drone footage for a real chase. COVID-era protocols will be followed, still applying, and the production will use green screens for the high-risk action scenes. Then I finished heading number 5. Now let's talk about the next heading, heading number 6. Heading 6 is all about deep story analysis. So heading 6 is the story of Fast and Furious 11, picking up right after the first X cliffhanger where Dom and Han escape. Later, little Brian escapes too, but then there's a race, an explosion, and a trap. Well, the family is scattered all over the world. Dom reunites with his crew to confront Dante in a revenge plot rooted in the loss of his father's fortune. From the first 5 themes of family, redemption, and legacy, it shifts back to street racing in LA, symbolizing a full circle. Closer, brain-over-corner return adds emotional depth, exploring friendship and loss. The protagonist, like Charlie Theron's character, keeps her edge with a lead-up to an epic battle and alliance. The narrative critics escalate the absurdity while staying grounded in the characters, ending the saga on a high note with heartfelt moments. Now, let's talk about the 7 headings. Let's start with the 7 headings. 7 headings is an explanation. With the technical review of 2025, let's talk about the 7 key areas in 2025. First up, the top 11 technical aspects reviewed during pre-production updates. Cinematography by Stephen F. Window emphasizes size and dynamic camera work for racing sequences, using IMAX for immersive action scenes. VFX advancements in 2025, like AI-assisted simulations, will boost exploration and car physics. Sound design incorporates Dolby Atmos, especially for roaring engines. Reviews from industry previews are based on the scripts, balancing nostalgia and innovation. Some critics pointed out a possible over-reliance on CGI. Overall, it's got a solid technical vibe and a 2025 Marble Labor tag for realistic yet fantastical stunts. Let's talk about the number one heading, Cast and Crew. The cast includes Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, Michelle Rodriguez as Letty Ortiz, Tyrese Gibson as Roman Pierce, Ludacris as Tej Parker, Natalie Emanuel as Ramsey, Jason Momoa as Dante Reyes, and Dwayne Johnson as Luke Hobbs, alongside Jason Statham. Deckard Shaw and Gal Gadot are cast, Yassar and Charlize Theron are confirmed, and Brie Larson has a test role. A digital bulletin of Paul Walker's Brain by director Louis Letterwriter, writer Christina Hudson, and Oren Uziel, producer Vin Diesel, composer Bran Tyler, cinematography by Stephen F. Window. I'm finished with heading number 8. Let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is Release Date. The official release date for Fast and Furious 11 is April 2026, confirmed by Vin Diesel. It's full speed ahead. The 2025 early report suggests June 20th, 2026, to mark the 25th anniversary of the first film. Let's talk about the heading. Heading number 10 is delayed. Let's get started. Fast and Furious 11 has faced multiple delays. It was originally planned for April 2025, but got pushed back because of the 2025 strike, script changes, and production scheduling. In May 2024, director Louis Leterrier confirmed a second push, but now it's shifted to 2027 to allow proper filming starting in 2025, and to work around the cast's availability, including Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. Commitments in this heading is done. Now let's talk about heading 11. Heading 11 is about the budget. It mentions the yearly budget is estimated between $300 to $400 million, covering star salaries. Vin Diesel reports reportedly earning $20 to $10 million globally. Locations include stunts and VFX. This is comparable to Toast X with $378.8 million, reflecting the franchise's high production value. Now let's move on to the next heading. The next heading is about box office collection, but since the movie is unreleased, box office collections for Stand and Zero project potential earnings between $800 million to $1.2 billion, maybe even $2 billion worldwide, driven by international markets like China and Europe. The series is performing strongly there. Opening weekend cool exceed $200 million globally, based on Fast X's $28 million debut estimate. Let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is Production. Produced by Universal Pictures and One Race Films, Vin Diesel's company, with a massive team involved. The challenges with logistics include coordinating international shoots and integrating VFX early on. The film is a co-production with the original movie, focusing on sustainability by featuring electric vehicles in some scenes. Now, let's talk about the next update. As of January 2026, filming is on track to start soon, with Diesel sharing. Teasers are being shared on social media. The script is finalized with more focus on Bronson Written and Dwayne Johnson, who are confirmed. Hopefully, no reshoots are needed. No trailer yet, but one is expected soon. Late 2026. let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is a behind-the-scenes look. Let's dive into the behind-the-scenes details. Intense stunt training for the cast with Vin Diesel personally involved in car selection. The director, Leatherware, has shared stories about recreating the 2001-era racing vibe. It was challenging, with weather delays during the LA shoot and some emotional moments filming. Brand scene, fan events like Fuel Fest have offered glimpses. Now let's move on to the next heading. The next heading is Facts. Let's get started. Additional facts. The franchise has crossed over $7 billion in total, first, and Furious 11 mid include Yesterday's Eggs from all premiere films. Beam Diesel, Wants It to Owner, Paul Walker, rumors of a female lead spin-off post. Let's talk about the next heading. Next heading is a rating. Let's start. No official rating yet, but expect PG-13 for intense action, violence, and language, consistent with the series. Let's start the next heading. Next heading is a reaction. Let's start. Pre-release reactions. From test screening. Test screening and industry buzz are positive, with fans excited for the finale and branch return. Social media hype is high. There's some criticism, some delays, mixed views from viewers pressing for action, but nothing about the form or formula elements. Let's start the next heading. Next heading is a shoot. Shooting delayed overall, with principal photography starting in 2025. Focus is on practical car stunts in LA streets with safety rings and CGI enhancements. Night shoot planned. Racing international legs for chase. Let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is Fast and Furious. Previous Fast and Furious movie was part number 10. Fast and Furious 10, released in 2023. It's the 10th main film. Interestingly, it's the first part of a two-part finale. Now let's talk about the introduction. Jason Momoa is the villain. The budget was $378.8 million. Now, let's get into OTT and satellite details. You can stream it on Peacock and Netflix in some regions, and satellite broadcast is on HBO. Finally, let's talk about the budget and worldwide box office lifetime. Office collection details. Budget was $300 million, crossed $78 million. Worldwide total hit $74.4 million. It was the fifth highest grosser in 2023. Pre-production. Let's talk about pre-production, post-production delays, development phase, and post-production work. Fast and Furious 9, directed by Justin Lin, who intentionally started directing before Louis Letter. Now, let's talk about filming. The shoot took place in LA and London, featuring futuristic air-rolling pump sequences. Let's dive into a deep story analysis. Dom protects his family and seeks revenge for his father's death in Fast and Furious 5. End of the movie ends on a cliffhanger with a dumb explosion and cheesy writing. Let's talk about the explanation of the technical review. The VFX in Carlo Phillips' Broken Tomatoes got 56% critic score. Now let's talk about the cast and crew. Vin Diesel, Michael Ravis, Jason Momoa, Bran Lar, Bran Berry, Lush Shawn. The director is Louis Leterrier. Now let's talk about the release date. May 19, 2000 and May 19, 2023, delayed due to minor COVID issues. Now let's talk about the budget. $328 million. The box office collection was $46 million in the U.S. and $568 million internationally. $1 million budget production, universal focus, director change, new update setup to behind the scenes. Moments improved, improvised, artistic, artist. Let's talk about the facts. Grossed $74 million total. Now let's talk about the rating. It's PG-13, and about the reaction, mixed reviews. Fans loved the acting. Critics found the plot confusing. Now about the shooting. It involved real vertical locations with permits. Finally, let's talk about the last point. The last heading is the first part of Fast and Furious 11. The First and the Furious was released in 2001 and launched the franchise. Let's talk about some interesting facts based on a magazine article. It helped kickstart the car culture boom. The budget was $38 million. It's available on Netflix for OTT and satellite viewing, and airs on FX satellite channels. The worldwide lifetime box office collection crossed $288 million. Now, about pre-production and post-production. The script was inspired by real racers. The post-production focused on practical effects. And as for filming details, let's dive into that next. In LA Real Racing with modified cars, let's talk about the deeper story analysis. Undercover cop branches out, infiltrates a crew, high-stakes hijacking trucks, exploring loyalty versus duty, ending with a burn and a daring escape. Now, let's get into the explanation with a technical review. Pushed for authentic racing, scored 54% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's talk about the cast and crew. Paul Walker is here, Vin Diesel is here, Tyrese Gibson is here, director Rob Cohen. Release date was June 22, 2001, but it was delayed by a bit. Budget wasn't huge, $38 million. Box office collections? The U.S. made $144.7 million internationally, with $62.6 million from opening weekend and $40 million from production. Universal kicked off a low-budget start with a new update. Legacy has a franchise that started behind the scenes. Real Racer has Express Facts, Sponge 10 plus equal. Let's talk about the rating. PG-13. Now let's discuss the reaction. Positive for acting. It's a cult classic. Let's talk about the shooting. It involved highway closures for the Fast and Furious 11 chase scenes. Also, Fast X Part 2 is the upcoming 11th installment in the iconic Fast and Furious franchise, serving as a grand finale to the main saga. That began our 2 dedicated action-packed film promises to bring high-octane street racing with family drama, revenge plots, and larger-than-life stunts, packed with fan-favorite characters who will rise and fall, and continuing directly from the cliffhanger of the last entry, directed by Louis Letter. It focuses on Dominic Toretto and his crew facing their ultimate threats. With an upcoming movie set for release in the late 2020s, it aims to celebrate the French roots in Los Angeles street racing culture. Wheel is delivering an explosive global adventure with a star-studded cast led by Vin Diesel. This film is expected to be a blockbuster and could mark the end of an era for one of Hollywood's most successful action series. Let's dive into the #1 key details and interesting facts. First off, Fast and Furious 11 is packed with elements that highlight its evolution and production. One major fact is that this movie is intended by the creators as the concluding chapter of the main Fast and Furious saga. The timeline makes this the 12th overall entry when you include the spin-offs like Hobbs and Shaw. Diesel's teased a return to the franchise's roots, focusing on street racing in Los Angeles. We contrast that with the globe-trotting spy thriller vibe from the recent films. Another cool detail is the plane reunion of Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor, the character originally played by the late Paul Walker, likely achieved through visual effects using footage of the Walker brothers, which is shown in Fast and Furious 7. The movie made future surprising cameos with rumors of Keanu Reeves joining, though unconfirmed and uncertain. Interestingly, the French Start has a street racing story inspired by a 1978 Vibe magazine article about underground racing. Now, in 2025, years later, it's a multi-billion-dollar Empire production, facing multiple delays due to strikes and script rewrites. The writing has been shifting between Justin Lin and Dan Mays, with Christina Hodson and Owen Uzel also involved. Fan trailers have gone viral. The movie stars big names like Cristiano Ronaldo, but the real focus is on core themes like family, royalty, and speed. The title for the second part, Fast and Furious 12, was officially revealed by Vin Diesel at the Fast and Furious event in 2025, confirming it's a direct sequel. Now, let's talk about the Senate point. OTT and satellite details. The official OTT release and satellite details for Fast and Furious 11 aren't finalized yet, but based on patterns from previous movies, we can expect updates soon. Fast and Furious films are expected to stream on platforms like Peacock, Universal's streaming service in the U.S., likely after their theatrical run, probably within 55 to 60 days. Similar to how Fast X landed on Peacock after theaters. Internationally, they appear on Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and Disney Plus Hotstar, depending on the region. Satellite rights are likely to be secured by major networks like HBO and Starz in the U.S., and in India, channels like Star Movies and Sony Max might get the TV broadcast rights. Specific deals have been announced as of early 2020, but expect premium video on demand options for rental on iTunes and Google Play after the release. Now, let's talk about point number 3, budget and worldwide box office collection. The budget for Fast and Furious 11 hasn't been officially announced yet, but estimates place it around $300 to $400 million, aligning with the rising cost seen in recent entries like Fast X, which had a $378.8 million budget due to high production costs. Glob is filming and has extensive CGI. The film is upcoming and not released as of January 2026. Worldwide lifetime box office collections are basically zero with no earnings to report. Projections suggest it could cross over $1 billion globally. Building on the franchise history, the first movie earned $74.4 million worldwide, despite mixed reviews. Factors like the final hype, returning stars, and marketing could push it higher, potentially surpassing past Furious movies with a $1.5 million peak. If you like the video, then please like the video, share it with your friends, and also subscribe to the channel. Now let me get started and tell you about this movie. I'll talk about 4 main points: pre-production, production, post-production, and distribution. Starting with pre-production. It officially began after the release of Aftershock in 2023, with the initial script written by Christina Hodson and Oren. Vin Diesel and Universal are involved, aiming for a back-to-basics approach, focusing on the LA roots. There was a delay due to the 2023 SAG strike, which affected writing and production timelines. Writer Guide, Strike, Push, Lime Time, Timeline with full pre-production, ramping up in late 2024. Storyboarding underway. Street racing and character designs are done. Post-production is set to start after filming wraps up in 26, involving heavy VFX work by studios like Industrial Light and Magic for car chases and explosions. Editing will be handled by Bran O'Connor, who will approach it sensitively with sound design focusing on engine, road, and score by Bran Tyler. The whole process is expected to take 6 to 12 months, leading to a polished finish. Let's talk about the fifth point. The fifth point is filming details. Let's go over these 5 points. Filming for Fast and Furious 11 is set to start early 2025, primarily in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is chosen to honor the French original, with additional locations possibly including Brazil and Europe for international scenes. Practical stunts will be featured, with real cars like modified muscle vehicles following enhanced safety protocols based on past accidents. Director Louis Leterrier plans to mix practical effects with CGI for authenticity. The shooting is expected to take about 5 to 6 months, including night shoots for racing scenes and drone footage for a real chase. COVID-era protocols might still be in place, and the production will use green screens for high-risk action. That wraps up heading number 5. Now let's move on to heading number 6. Heading 6 is all about deep story analysis. So let's talk about heading 6. The story of Fast and Furious 11 picks up from the first X cliffhanger, where Dom and the son later escape a dent race and explosion. Explosion trap? Well, the family is scattered all over the world. Dom's back with his crew to face Dent in a revenge plot tied to the loss of his fathers. From the first 5, the theme of family, redemption, and legacy dominates. Dom returns to street racing in L.A., symbolizing a full circle. Closer to the brain, Corner Return adds emotional depth, exploring friendship and loss. The protagonist, like keeping Charlie Theron in Alley and Beat Battery, leads to epic battles and alliances. The narrative critics escalate the absurdity, grounding the characters and wrapping up the saga on a high note felt great. Now, let's talk about the 7 headings. Let's start with them. The 7 headings are basically a technical review of 2025. So, what's going on with these 7 headings in 2025? First up, 11 technical aspects were reviewed during pre-production. Cinematography by Stephen F. Photo emphasis size. Dynamic camera work for racing sequences. Use of IMAX for immersive action. VFX advancements in 2025, like AI-assisted simulations that will seriously enhance things. Exploration and car physics sound design mostly uses Dolby Atmos for the engine reviews from industry previews. The script balances nostalgia and innovation. Some critics point out a potential over-reliance on CGI. Overall, it holds its position as a technical marvel, aiming for a 2025 release, featuring realistic yet fantastical stunts. Now, let's talk about the number 1 heading, Cast and Crew. The cast includes Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto and Michael Rooker, Letty Ortiz, and Tyrese Gibson. Roman Pierce and Ludacris, Chris has Tej Parker, and Natalia Emanuel has Ramsey. Jason Momoa has Denty Reese, and Dwayne Johnson has Luke Hobbs. Jason Statham has Deckard Shaw, and Gal Gadot has Giselle Yashar. Charlize Theron has Cypher, and Brie Larson has Tess. A digital tribute to Paul Walker has Brian O'Connor. Crew director Louis Letter, writers Christina Hudson and Oren Uziel, producer Vin Diesel, composer Bran Tyler, cinematography by Stephen F. Window. I'm finished with heading number 8. Let's talk about the next heading. Next up is the release date. The official release date for Fast and Furious 11 is April 2026, confirmed by Vin Diesel himself. There were some early reports suggesting June 20th, 2026, to mark the 25th anniversary of the first film. Now, let's talk about the next update. Heading number 10 is delayed. Let's get into it. Fast and Furious 11 has faced multiple delays. Originally planned for April 2025, it was postponed due to the 2025 strike, script changes, and production scheduling. In May 2024, director Louis Leterrier confirmed the new timeline. The pushback from 2025 to 2027 is to allow proper filming to start in 2025 and to deal with cast availability, including Vin Diesel commitments. That part's done, so let's talk about Section 11. Section 11 is about the budget. It mentions that the yearly budget is estimated between $300 to $400 million. Vin Diesel's reported salary is around $20 to $10 million. The budget also covers global locations, stunts, and VFX. This is comparable to the last X installment that made $378.8 million, reflecting the franchise's scale. High production value. Let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is Box Office Collection. Since the movie hasn't been released yet, the box office collection stands at 0. Projections suggest a potential earning of $800 million to $1.2 billion, or possibly up to $2 billion worldwide, driven by international markets like China and Europe. China and Europe are where the series performs strongly. Opening weekend Cool X exceed $200 million globally, based on Fast X's $228 million debut estimate. Let's move on to the next heading. The next heading is a production produced by Universal Pictures and One Race Films' Vin Diesel Company involves a massive team for logistics. The challenges include coordinating international shoots and integrating VFX early on. The film is co-produced by a producer from the original movie, emphasizing sustainability with electric vehicles in some scenes. Let's talk about the next heading. The latest update as of January 2026 is that filming is on track to start soon, with Vin Diesel sharing set teasers on social media. The script is finalized, including more focus on Brian written and Dwayne Johnson confirmed. Hope there's a release. No trailer yet, but expect one in late 2026. Let's talk about the next heading. Next heading is behind the scenes. Let's start with behind the scenes details. Intense stunt training for the cast, with Vin Diesel personally involved in car selection. Director Leterrier shared stories about recreating the 2001 era racing vibe. Challenges included weather delays during the LA shoot and emotional moments filming Brian's scenes. Fan events like Fuel were also highlighted. Fist Haze has offered some glimpses. Let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is about facts. Let's get started. Additional facts. The franchise has crossed over $7 billion in total. First, and Furious 11 mid, including Easter eggs from all previous films, being Diesel once, 2, 1, Paul Walker, rumors of a female lead spin-off. Moving on, let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is ratings. Let's start. No official rating yet, but expect PG-13 for intense action, violence, and language consistent with the series. Let's get started. The next heading is our reaction. Let's begin with pre-release reactions from test screenings. The test screenings and industry buzz are positive, and fans are excited for the final release and the brand's return. Social media hype is high, though there's some criticism about delays and mixed views from viewers. People are pressing for action, but there's no set formula yet. Moving on to the next heading, which is shooting. The shooting has been delayed overall, with principal photography now set to start in 2025. The focus will be on practical effects and cars. Standing on an LA street with safety rings and CGI enhancements. Night shoot for Racing International. Moving on to the legs for chase scenes. Now let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is about the Fast and Furious series. The previous Fast and Furious movie was Part 10, released in 2023. It's the 10th main film in the franchise, and interestingly, it's the first part of a two-part finale. Now, let's talk about the introduction. Jason Momoa plays the villain. The budget was $328.8 million. As for OTT and satellite details, let's discuss that next. The movie is streaming on Peacock and Netflix in some regions. Satellite on HBO. Let's talk about the budget and worldwide box office collections. Budget, $300 million. Crossed, $374.4 million worldwide. Fifth highest of 2023. Pre-production. Let's discuss pre-production, post-production delays, and development. Post-production was fast, with Justin Lin directing, who also directed Fast and Furious. He started before Louis Leterrier. Filming. Let's go over the filming details. Shot in LA and London, with scenes involving future air-rolling pump sequences. Now, let's dive into the deep story analysis. The story is about Doom protecting his family from death revenge for his father's death in Fast and Furious 5, with a cliffhanger, dumb explosion, and cheesy writing. Let's talk about the explanation and technical review, especially the VFX in Fast and Furious 5. Critics gave it 56%. Now let's talk about the cast and crew. Vin Diesel, Michael Rivas, Jason Momoa, Brian Berry, LaShawn. The director is Louis Leterrier. Moving on, let's talk about the release date. May 19, 2000 or May 19, 2023, delayed a bit due to COVID. Now about the budget, $378.8 million. Box office collection is $46 million in the U.S., with an international budget of $500 million and $68 million production budget. Universal is focused on a director change, new updates, and behind-the-scenes setups. Momoa improved and improvised the art and artistry. Now, let's talk about the facts. The gross is $74 million total. Talking about the rating, it's PG-13. As for the reaction, it's mixed. Fans loved the acting, but critics found the plot convoluted. Regarding the shooting, it involved real vertical locations and required permits. Finally, let's talk about the last and final point. All right, the last heading is about the first part, The Fast and the Furious 11. The Fast and the Furious first came out in 2001 and launched the whole franchise. Now, let's talk about some interesting facts from a magazine article. It sparked the car culture boom. The budget was $38 million. You can watch it on Netflix, and it's also available on FX for satellite viewers. Worldwide, it made over $280 million at the box office. Now, moving on to pre-production, post-production, and the script, which was inspired by real racers. The post focuses on practical effects and breaks down the filming details. It was shot in LA with real racing using modified cars. Let's dive into the deep story analysis. An undercover cop infiltrates a crew involved in hijacking trucks. The film explores themes of loyalty versus duty, ending with a dramatic escape. Now, let's talk about the technical review. Praised for authentic racing scenes. It has a 54% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. As for the cast and crew, Paul Walker plays Brian, Vin Diesel is Dom, Michael Rooker is Letty, and the director is Rob Cohen. The release date is June 22nd, 2001 dialed. Let's talk about the delay. Non-major budget, $38 million. Box office collection, U.S. $144.7 million, international $62.6 million, opening $40 million, production by Universal, low budget start. New update, Legacy has a franchise. Starts behind the scenes, Real Racer has Express Facts, spend 10 plus equals. Let's talk about the rating, PG-13. Let's talk about the reaction, positive, especially for acting. Cult classic. Let's talk about the shooting. Involved highway closures for chasing scenes in Fast and Furious 11. Also, now Fast X Part 2 is the upcoming 11th installment. In the most iconic and fast-paced franchise, this grand finale wraps up the main saga that started it all. This action-packed movie promises high-octane street racing, family drama, revenge, and jaw-dropping stunts bigger than life. Fan-favorite characters will tie up loose ends from previous films. Directed by Louis Leterrier, it picks up right where the last one left off, focusing on Dominic Toretto and his crew as they face their biggest threats yet. The next movies are set to release soon. 2020's Fast and Furious aims to celebrate its French roots in the LA street racing scene, delivering an explosive global adventure with a star-studded cast, led by Vin Diesel. This film is expected to be a blockbuster and could potentially mark the end of an era for one of Hollywood's most successful action franchises. Let's dive into the key details and interesting facts. The first Fast and Furious 11 is packed with intense moments that highlight its evolution and production highlights. That movie is meant to be the final chapter of the Fast and Furious timeline, making it the 12th overall entry if you count the spin-offs like Hobbs and Shaw. Vin Diesel has hinted at going back to the franchise's roots, focusing on street racing in Los Angeles, which is a change from the globe-trotting spy thriller vibe of recent films. Another cool detail is the return of Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor, the character originally played by the late Paul Walker, likely brought back through visual effects. The Walker brothers and Achieve footage appear in Fast and Furious 7. The movie introduced future surprise cameras, with rumors about who might join: Ken, Raj, Keanu, and Reeves, though nothing's confirmed yet. Interestingly, the franchise started as a street racing story inspired by a 1978 Vibe magazine article about underground racing. Now, in 2025, it's a multi-billion-dollar empire. The production has faced multiple delays due to strikes and script rewrites, with Justin Lin and Dan Maza involved in the rewrites. Christina Hosen and Owen Uzel fan trailers have gone viral, featuring some big casting stars like Cristiano Ronaldo. But the real film focuses on core themes of family, royalty, and speed. The title's second part, Fast 2 War, was officially revealed by Vin Diesel at Fuel Fast in 2025, emphasizing that it's a direct sequel. Now, let's talk about the second point: OTT and satellite details. The Fast and Furious 11 is an upcoming theoretical release, and the official OTT and satellite details aren't finalized yet. However, based on the pattern from the previous Fast and Furious films, it's expected to stream on platforms like Peacock, Universal's streaming service in the U.S., probably about 55 to 60 days after its theatrical release, similar to how Fast X landed on Peacock after theaters. Internationally, it might show up on Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and Disney Plus Hotstar, depending on the region. Satellite rights are likely to be secured by major networks like HBO and Starz in the U.S., and in India. Channels like Star Movies and Sony Max might get them. They've secured the TV broadcast rights, but no specific deals have been announced yet for early 2026. However, expect a premium video on demand option after the release for rentals on iTunes and Google Play. Now, let's talk about point number 3, budget and worldwide box office collections. The budget for Fast and Furious 11 hasn't been officially announced yet, but estimates place it around $300 to $400 million, which lines up with the rising costs of recent movies in the series. Like Star Wars has a $378.8 million budget due to high production costs, global filming, and extensive CGI. The film is upcoming and hasn't been released as of January 2026. Worldwide lifetime box office collections are basically zero, with no earnings to report. Projections suggest it could cross over $1 billion globally, building on the franchise's history. The first Star Wars earned $74.4 million worldwide, despite mixed reviews. Factors like the final hype, returning stars, and strong marketing could push it to potentially surpass past Furious movies. $1.5 million peak. If you like the video, then like it, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now, let me get into it and tell you about this movie. I want to talk about the 4 key points: pre-production, production, post-production, and distribution. Let's start with the description. Pre-production kicked off early this year with the movie set to release in 2023. The script was written by Christina Hudson and Oren. Vin Diesel is involved and Universal is backing it. The approach is pretty back to basics, focusing on LA roots. There's a delay from the 2023. SOGI after and Writing Writer Guide strike push timeline, with full pre-production ramping up late 2023 to 2024. Storyboarding, street racing, and character designs are underway. Post-production is set to start after filming wraps in 2026, involving heavy VFX work by studios like Industrial Light and Magic for car chases and explosions. Editing will handle the action scenes carefully, with sound design focusing on engine noise, road sounds, and the score by Brian Tyler. The whole process is expected to take 6 to 2 months, leading up to a polished finish. Now let's talk about the 5th point. The 5th point is filming details. Let's go over these 5 points. Filming for Fast and Furious 11 is set to start early 2025, with the premiere planned in Los Angeles. LA was chosen to honor the French original, with additional locations possibly including Brazil and Europe for international scenes. The practical stunts will feature real cars, like modified muscle vehicles, with enhanced safety protocols, thanks to lessons learned from past accidents. Director Louis Leterrier plans to mix practical effects. The CGI effects will make it look authentic. Shooting is expected to take about 5 to 6 months, including night shoots for racing scenes and drone footage for real chase sequences. COVID protocols might still be in place, and the production will use green screens for high-risk action. Then I'm done with heading number 5. Now let's talk about the next one, heading number 6. Heading 6 is all about deep story analysis. So heading 6 covers the story of Fast and Furious 11, picking up from the cliffhanger at the end of the last one. Little B escapes Dent's race dam explosion trap. Well, the family is scattered worldwide. Dom gets back with his crew to take on Dent's revenge plot, driven by the loss of his father. The tune from the first 5 themes is all about family, redemption, and legacy. Dom is back to street racing in L.A., symbolizing a full circle, closer to Brian O'Connor's return, adding emotional depth by exploring friendship and loss. The protagonists, like Charlie Theron's Ellie and Beat Battery, lead to an epic battle and alliance with the native. Critics are pointing out the escalating absurdity, but the character development is solid, and the saga ends on a high note. Let's talk about the 7 key points, starting with them. These 7 points explain and technically review what to expect in 2025. First up, 11 technical aspects were reviewed during pre-production. Updates include cinematography by Stephen F., focusing on window framing, size, and dynamic camera work for racing scenes. They're using IMAX for a more immersive action experience. Plus, there are big advancements in VFX in 2025, like AI integration. AI-assisted simulation will boost exploration and car physics sounds, incorporating Dolby Atmos for 4 roaring engines. Reviews from industry previews highlight a balance of nostalgia and innovation. Some critics worry about too much reliance on CGI. Overall, it holds a solid position with technical marvels, aiming for realistic yet fantastical stunts in 2025. Now let's talk about the number 1 heading, Cast and Crew. The cast includes Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, and Michael R. Rodriguez has Letty Ortiz, Tyrese Gibson has Roman Pierce, and Ludacris has Tej Parker. Natalia Emanuel has Ramsey, and Jason Momoa has Dante Reyes. Dwayne Johnson has Luke Hobbs, and Jason Statham has Deckard Shaw. Gal Gadot has Giselle Yashar, and Charlize Theron has Cypher. Brie Larson has Tess, and a digital tribute to Paul Walker has Brian O'Connor. Crew director Louis Leterrier, writers Christina Hudson and Oren Uziel, producer Vin Diesel, composer Bran Tyler, cinematography Stephen F. Window. I am finished with the heading. Number 8. Let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is the release date. So, the official release date for Fast and Furious 11 is April 2026. This was confirmed by Vin Diesel, who's fully on board. There were some early reports suggesting June 2026 to mark the 25th anniversary of the first film. Now, let's move on to heading number 10. Heading number 10 is about delays. Let's get started. Fast and Furious 11 has faced multiple delays. Originally, it was planned for April 2025, but it got postponed because of the 2025 strike and script changes. Production scheduling in May 2024. Director Louis Letter confirmed the A2 push, but the release is shifted from 2025 to 2027 to allow proper filming starting in 2025. And to align with cast availability, including Dwayne Johnson's commitments. This part is finished. Now let's talk about Section 11. Section 11 is about the budget. The estimated yearly budget is between $300 to $400 million, covering star salaries. Vin Diesel reportedly earns $20 to $10 million. It includes global locations and stunts. The VFX here is comparable to Fast X's $378.8 million, reflecting the franchise's high production value. Now, let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is box office collection. Since the movie hasn't been released yet, the box office collection is 0, but projections suggest potential earnings between $800 million to $1.2 billion, possibly reaching $2 billion worldwide. This is driven by strong international markets like China and Europe, where the series performs really well. The opening weekend could hit around $200 million globally, based on Fast X's performance. $228 million debut estimate. Let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is a production produced by Universal Pictures and One Race Films, Vin Diesel's company. The production involves a massive team handling logistics challenges, including coordinating international shoots and integrating VFX early on. The film is co-produced by a producer from the original film and emphasizes sustainability with electric vehicles in some scenes. Let's move on to the next heading. The latest update as of January 2026 is that filming is currently underway. Track to start with Vin Diesel sharing set teasers on social media. Script is final, includes more focus on Vanessa Kirby and Dwayne Johnson confirmed. No trailer yet, but expect one in late 2026. Let's talk about the next heading. Next heading is a behind-the-scenes look. Let's dive into behind-the-scenes details revealed. Intense stunt training for the cast, with Vin Diesel personally involved in car selection. Director Letter shares stories of recreating the 2001-era racing vibe. Challenging, but exciting. We had weather delays during the LA shoot and some emotional moments while filming the Braun Brand scene. The fan event was like Fuel Fist, which gave us some cool glimpses. Now let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is facts. Let's get started with some additional facts. The franchise has crossed over $7 billion in total, including the First and Furious 11, plus mid-range stuff like Easter eggs from all the previous films. Vin Diesel wants it too, and Paul Walker rumors about a female lead spin-off. Moving on, let's talk about the next topic. The next topic is ratings. Let's start, though there's no official number yet. Official rating isn't out yet, but expect PG-13 for intense action, violence, and language consistent with the series. Let's get started. Next heading. Next heading is a reaction. Let's start with pre-release reaction from test screenings. The test screenings and industry buzz are positive, with fans excited for the finale and the return of Branch. Social media hype is high, though there's some criticism about the delay. Mixed views are anticipated from viewers, pressing for action but not really focusing on the formula elements. Let's move on to the next heading. The heading is about a shooting delay overall, with principal photography starting in 2025. The focus is on practical car stand-ins on an LA street, with safety rings and CGI enhancements. There will be night shoots for international racing scenes for chase sequences. Now, let's talk about the next heading. The next heading is about the Fast and Furious series. The previous Fast and Furious installment, number 10, was released in 2023. It's the 10th main film, and interestingly, it's the first part of a two-part finale. Now, let's talk about the introduction. Jason Momoa is the villain, and the budget? Vaji made $378.8 million from OTT and satellite rights. Let's talk about the OTT and satellite details. Streaming on Peacock, Netflix in some regions, and satellite on HBO. Now let's discuss the budget and worldwide box office collection details. The budget was $378 million, and it crossed $74.4 million globally, making it the fifth highest of 2023. Moving on to pre-production, let's talk about the pre-production and post-production delays. The development and post-production phases had some delays. The movie, Fast and Furious 9, was directed by Justin Lin, who was the director before Louis Leterrier. Now, let's talk about the filming details and shooting locations. Play, London, room, future, air, rolling, pump sequence. Let's talk about the deep story analysis. Doom protects his family from Dent's revenge for his father's death in First and Fury. 5 has First and Fury, 5 has. And then there's the cliffhanger with that dumb explosion and the geese returning. Let's talk about the explanation of the technical review, the high level of VFX in Carr Phillips, Broken Tomatoes, 56% criticism, And let's talk about the cast and crew. Vin Diesel, Michael Ravis, Jason Momoa, Bran Larger, Bran Berry, LaShawn, director Louis Leterrier. And let's talk. Let's talk about the release date. It was May 19th, 2000, then delayed to May 19th, 2023 due to minor COVID delays. Now, let's talk about the budget. The budget was $78.8 million. Box office collection in the U.S. was $40 million. Internationally, it made $68 million. The production was by Universal Focus. There was a director change and new updates. Behind the scenes, Momoy improved and improvised the art and artist work. Let's talk about the facts. The gross was $74 million in total. Now, about the rating. It's PG-13. Finally, the reaction was mixed. Fans loved the acting, but critics found the plot lacking. All right, let's talk about the shooting. The shoot involves getting real vertical location permits. Now, moving on to the last and final point. The final heading is about the first part, The Fast and the Furious 11. The first Fast and the Furious movie was released in 2001, which launched the whole franchise. Let's dive into some interesting facts based on a magazine article. It sparked the car culture boom. The budget was around $83.8 million for OTT and satellite details. It's available on Netflix and FX. The budget and worldwide lifetime box office collection details are also available. 38 million clicks, $28 million worldwide. Let's talk about pre-production, post-production, the script inspired by real racers. The post was all about practical effects. Now let's get into the filming details. Shot in L.A., real racing with modified cars. Let's dive into the deep story analysis. An undercover cop named Braun infiltrates a dumb crew hijacking trucks, exploring loyalty versus duty, ending with Braun letting them escape. Now let's break down the explanation with a technical review, all focused on authentic racing. 54% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's talk about the cast and crew. Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Dom, Michael Rooker, Letty. Director, Rob Cohen. Release date, June 22nd, 2000 $. One delay. Now about the delay, no big deal. Budget, $38 million box office, U.S. $144.7 million, international $62.6 million. Opening weekend, $40 million. Production, Universal. Low budget start. Latest update, Legacy is a franchise. Behind the scenes, the real racer is Express Facts, Sponge 10 plus equals. Now about the rating, PG-13. Reaction, positive, especially for the acting. Cult classic, let's talk about the shooting, the highway closure for the chase. If you like the video, then please like it and share it with your friends, and also subscribe to this channel. So let me get to the point and tell you about this movie. If you're still watching this video, I want to let you know I've shared a total of 20 facts about this movie. With 20 headings, I've covered all the details in this video, and along with that, I've also given you some basic info about Fast and Furious 11. I've told you everything. In the first heading of this movie, I gave you an introduction. Then there are a total of 20 headings where I explained everything in detail, breaking it down point by point. I gave a full explanation of the movie, shared the facts, and also talked about any new updates related to it in this video. In the first fact heading, I started by telling you that first, the Furious 11 movie is coming soon, but it hasn't been released yet. It's going to be out very soon. In the first heading, I've shared all the full details and some interesting facts about the movie. Then in the second heading, I've talked about the OTT release and satellite details, like where it will be available on OTT and the latest satellite updates. After that, I told you about the budget of this movie and its worldwide box office collection, which I mentioned under the third heading. That is, the Fast and Furious 11 movie that's about to release, how much its budget is expected to be, and how much it might earn worldwide at the box office. I also shared how much the previous parts of this movie made. All these details I've added there. Then, under the fourth heading, I talked about the pre-production work of this movie. The post-production work is about to start. I've given an update about it. So, friends, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with your friends. Also, let me tell you, under the fifth heading, I've shared details about the filming of this movie, specifically about the upcoming Fast and Furious 11. I've provided the latest updates about the movie's filming under that fifth heading. I've already told you about it, and after that, I gave you a deep story analysis of the movie, that is, how the story is going to unfold. I shared my opinion and provided you with that, basically about the Fast and Furious 11 movie that's coming up, explaining what the story might be like. Then we talked about the seventh heading, where I explained the movie along with a technical review for 2025. That is, what the review of this movie is expected to be. In 2025, I shared my opinion about this movie under the seventh heading. I explained it really well. If you've watched the video, you've probably understood it by now. If you did, make sure to drop a comment below, and don't forget to like the video. Once again, I've told you this. And in the next heading, I've shared updates about the cast and crew of this movie, which is going to be Fast and Furious 11. I talked about which actors will be cast in this movie. I've already updated you about the cast and crew of this movie, like we're going to see Vin Diesel in it. Along with that, a lot of other actors' names are popping up connected to this movie. Even Cristiano Ronaldo's name has come up. I've shared the full list under the cast and crew section, which you must have seen in heading number 8. After that, I talked about the release date in the 9th heading, basically when this movie is coming out. You can check it out for yourself. Along with that, I've shared details about the movie's release date, where it will be released, how it will be released, and in which places it will be available. I also mentioned whether it will release in Hindi or not. I've covered all these points under different headings. Specifically, in the 9th heading, I gave you all the updates about the release date. After that, we talked about the 10th heading, which was about delays. Basically, how much this movie's release has been delayed. There's some confusion about whether Fast and Furious 11 has been delayed. Let me clear it up for you. Originally, the movie was supposed to come out in 2025, but now it's been pushed back to 2027. In the 10th heading, I explained exactly when the delay happened and shared a lot more details about it. Now, moving on to the 11th heading, I'll tell you more about the movie there. So, about the budget, how much this movie is expected to cost. I've given a full explanation about the budget of this movie, including the first movie's budget as well. Right now, the budget for this movie is set around $300 to $400 million. Also, under the 12th heading, I talked about the box office collection. Basically, how much this movie can earn at the box office after its release. I talked about this further in the 12th heading, where I gave you a really detailed explanation of everything. After that, I explained the production of this movie, how much time it took and all that. I provided a lot of detailed info about the production, covering everything fully under different headings. Then in the 15th heading, I shared the latest updates, like what's new recently with Fast and Furious. Today, I shared the latest updates about the Furious 9 movie in the 15th heading. Then in the 16th heading, I talked about the behind-the-scenes stuff, whether any new behind-the-scenes footage has come out recently. I covered all that in the 16th heading of this video. After that, in the 17th heading, I shared some facts about the movie, what kind of facts you can expect. That's all in the 17th heading. I've already covered all that for you. Then, under the 18th heading, I explained what kind of rating this movie is expected to get, and how it'll be. I also gave full details about the ratings of the previous movies that were released. Under the 18th and 19th headings, I talked about the reactions people are likely to have after the movie releases, along with an explanation. After that, I discussed the shooting of the movie. As I discussed in the 20th heading of this movie, I've given you full details in those 20 headings about everything that recently came up in front of me. Also, just to let you know, the first part of this movie, the one that was released first, was The Fast and the Furious, which came out in 2001. Besides that, Fast and Furious 10 was released in 2023. I've shared more information about that too, covering everything in full detail. I've told you all about how much the movie made at the box office. I've shared the office collection and all the details, like the movie's release date, with you. So, friends, if you like this video that I worked so hard on, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to this channel to watch more new movie explanations, reviews, facts, and updates, because you'll keep getting all these updates, facts, and reaction videos right here.